Hi friends, it's Sophie. Welcome back to your practice. Today we're doing a super relaxing lower body focused flow. We'll really be focusing on stretching, not too much strength, nothing crazy today. So if that sounds like it's what you need, then grab a block if you have one. And if you don't have a block, no worries. We'll probably only use it for one or two things. So I will give you alternatives. So really don't worry about it. And lastly, before we get started, please do all the things to support the channel, subscribe, like, comment, so that way we can continue practicing together. It really helps out, and I would love to keep putting these videos out for you and for us to practice together forever. So once you've done that, we'll get started. We're going to come to child's pose. Feet together and knees wide, really wide knees. And walk your hands down. And if you need to modify and do something else, if you don't like child's pose, that's okay. You can start seated. Set your forehead down onto the ground and feel your mid-back melting to the earth as you sink your hips back. And notice how with each inhale, the back of the heart kind of puffs up. And with the exhale, you sink down to the earth. Right away, the breath grounds us into ourselves. And we just surrender to the earth. Start to walk your hands back up and come into tabletop. And extend your right leg straight back behind you with the toes tucked, the toes on the ground, and press back through your heel. You should feel a stretch through your right calf muscles. And make sure that the arms are straight and that you're not collapsing towards the ground. Take one more breath here in this calf stretch. And then shift forward, lift your right leg up and bring it over to the left side, crossing it behind the left leg. And again, we're going to press back through the heel, but this time you're going to look over your left shoulder. You feel a stretch into the right side body, maybe even into the right outer hip. And this little side bend. And lift the right leg back up. Set the knee down on the ground. Extend your left leg straight back. Press through the heel. Spread the fingers. Breathe. Take one more breath. Really press back through the heel. And lift the left, shift forward and lift the left leg up. Then take your left leg over to the right. Tuck the toes again. Look over your right shoulder and stretch through the left side body. And creating a C curve. And let your breath flow slowly in and out. Feel how the air touches the tips of the nostrils. Lift the left leg back up slowly. Inhale. Exhale, tabletop. Tuck your toes. Start to walk your hands back. Sit on your fingertips. Spread your toes and sit back on your heels. And this might feel like enough for you, or you can come upright for a little toe stretch. And if you're upright and you want to do something with your arms, you can interlace your hands and open up the heart and pull the arms and the pinky fingers up and back. And if you're just on your hands, that's okay too. Just breathe there. We'll bring the hands back down to the ground if they're not there already. So you're on your fingertips. Now lift your knees up off of the ground and kind of sit back so that your heels drop to the earth, but they probably won't be touching the earth. And you'll probably feel a stretch in your shins. And we're kind of getting into the Achilles tendon and the lower calves. And you can bring your forehead towards your knees if you want and get this rounded upper back. Maybe bring the knees up a little higher towards your chest. And notice if the breath became turbulent here, can you smooth it out? And surrender. Set the knees back down on the ground. Walk your hands forward. And just simply step your right foot outside of your right hand. Then slide your left leg back. Really make sure you're sliding that leg as far back as you can and untuck your back toes. Start to wiggle a little side to side. And rise up onto your fingertips. You can always put your hands on a block or on 2 blocks if you have. Then open up the heart space, shoulders back, and at the same time push down into the top of your back foot. And then if you want a little more, and if it's okay with your knee, you can roll onto the outer edge of your right foot so that the bottom of the right foot sort of lifts away from the ground and you're rolling onto the pinky toe side. Being on the fingertips gives us a little bit of a lift. Kind of like we're a seal, the way seals' chests puff up. Then straighten out your right leg and shift back. Ooh, and notice how that feels. You can stay here and work to draw the right hip back and pull the heart forward. Or if you want more, keep your left hand down, reach your right arm up to the sky. And bring your right hand down if it's not there already. And we'll shift back into lizard. And slide your right foot now all the way over to the left for pigeon. Slide it over. And the right shin doesn't have to be parallel to the front of the mat, but if bringing it more parallel helps you get a better stretch, then by all means you do that. Kind of have to experiment with your body and figure out what works. So really, let's tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and then re-extend the left leg further back, and then untuck the toes again. So we really have a long back leg. And then when you're ready, you can stay here or you can come down onto the forearms. Maybe you reach the arms all the way forward and put your forehead down. And if you want a little bit more of a stretch, walk your hands to the left a bit at a diagonal. And then let's surrender. Let's let go. We can let go of control, of needing to control every little thing. I was camping last weekend and felt really dirty, as one does when they camp. And I thought about how what's so beautiful about that and what draws me to it is the fact that I'm letting go of control, of having to have everything be clean all the time and organized. Sometimes we need to just force ourselves to let go. Let's slowly come back up onto the hands. And you could stay here, or maybe you bend your back knee and grab onto the foot with the left hand for a quad stretch. And if you're like, no way am I doing that, that's okay. Sometimes, everybody's bodies are different, but sometimes you have to realize that being able to grab your foot from pigeon here takes years and years of stretching and working with the body. Take 2 more breaths. Release the foot down to the ground. And we'll step back just to tabletop. So slide your right leg back into table and take stock, take notice of the difference between the legs now. What a relief through that right leg. Okay, let's go to the other side. So step your left foot outside of your left hand for lizard. And we'll slide the right leg back as much as we can and untuck the back toes. The hands are flat on the ground and we start to just rock side to side. We're easing in to the hips. Finding a little dynamic movement first before we stretch more deeply. And then come up onto your fingertips and maybe you roll onto the outer edge of your left foot as long as it feels okay on your body. And you open your heart up like a seal. It's like it's like you're doing cobra pose with your chest. Make sure you're really anchoring down into the back foot to reverberate and lift through the chest. Slowly start to straighten out your left leg as you shift your hips back. And if you need to readjust anything when you get there, maybe you slide the left foot forward a little bit, that's fine. Flex the left toes, draw that left hip back, and again, lengthen the heart forward. And this might feel like plenty of stretch. But if you want a little more, your right hand plants down and sweep your left arm to the sky. And find a softness between the eyes. We don't have to hold on so tight. If your arm is up, bring it back down. We come back onto the fingertips and then shift back into lizard. Now we'll slide the left foot over to the right side. Take your time with this and find the positioning that feels right for you. Just sink into it. So tuck your back toes, slide your back leg back, and then untuck them again. Now once you feel good, you can start to come down or you can stay upright. Onto your forearms. Maybe the arms reach all the way forward. Maybe you find a little diagonal line to the right for an extra bit of stretch. If you find the mind starting to wander or wonder when it's going to be over, recognize that and let go. Now we can rise back up onto the hands. Option to stay or bend your right knee and grab onto your foot with your right hand and pull towards you. If you notice you're falling to the left, try to realign so you're squared over your hips, over the ground, and you're not leaning. We'll slowly release and make our way back to table. There's absolutely no rush. Wiggle out your hips. Tuck your toes, lift your hips for down dog. And right from down dog, we're going to walk the hands to the back of the mat. And take a fold. Just you can let your upper body drape over your legs. If you'd like to grab your elbows, that's another option. Maybe you sway or bounce. Spread the toes. We're going to bring the fingertips to the earth. And walk your hand. Let's take the feet a little wider first, actually, and then walk your hands over in front of the right foot. So your feet are like as wide as your mat, assuming you're on a standard mat. And bend your left knee a little bit and fold more over your right leg. And if you need to have both knees bent, you can. You can also grab your block and put your hands on your block. Now I'll walk the hands over to the left side or use the block. Bend your right knee, straighten your left leg, and fold. Notice what happens if you kind of shift the weight into your toes. Bring your hands back to center. And then lift up halfway. Turn your toes out and come into a squat, a yogi squat. You're always welcome to sit on your block if it feels too difficult to get this low. Let's bring the hands to the heart. And while we're here, bring the fingers forward and then go to the backs of the hands and push gently your hands into each other. Little wrist stretch while we're here. Notice if you start to collapse inwards. Open your knees. Actually, don't even use your elbows. Can you take your elbows off your knees and use just the strength of your legs to open up? And then bring the palms back to your heart. Take one more breath. And release your hands down and straighten out your legs. Then take your left foot, bring it behind the right foot, cross it over, and see if you can line up all 10 toes. Your legs are crisscrossed. Again, you may need a block here under your hands if you have it. You should feel a stretch in the outer left leg and probably the back of the leg too. So we're getting into the IT band and into the outer calf muscles. Notice how the longer you stay, the deeper you can go. The body starts to give a little bit more. And then uncross those legs. Right leg will cross behind left leg and fold down to the best of your ability. Try to line up the toes, but it's okay if they're not all lined up. If the right foot is further back, there's nothing wrong with that. And how's your breath? Is it long and slow? And if it's not, make it so. Through the breath, we can really train ourselves to surrender, to let go. Let's uncross the legs and walk the hands all the way back out to down dog. Pedal out the heels, bend one knee at a time. And bring your feet together and a little closer to your hands, like maybe 3 or 4 inches closer. And lift your right leg up to the sky as high as you can. Then flex your right foot so the toes are flexed back, but then you want to square your hips so that the toes point to the ground. So can you anchor your left hip back and your right toes point down without lowering the leg. Keep the leg lifted and then put the right foot back down. And flex your left foot as you lift the left leg up to the sky. And we'll do the same thing. We'll draw the right hip back, essentially squaring the hips so that they're at the same line. Left toes point down. Keep that left leg lifted. And then bring the foot down to the ground. And walk your feet up to your hands. Lift up halfway. Fold forward. Stand up and reach your arms all the way up to the sky. Take your time. Bring your hands to heart center. And drop your arms down by your sides. Feet hip distance apart, so under the hip bones. Reach the arms to the sky. Reach, 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 and we'll fold forward. Bend your knees as you go down. Lift up halfway. And step your left foot all the way back into low lunge. And set your left knee down onto the ground. Put your hands onto your front thigh. And play with kind of bouncing the hips forward. Gently, the shoulders relax. Then take your arms up to the sky for Anjaneyasana. Bring your hands back down to the ground. Slide your right hand over to the right, and putting a block under your hand could be super handy here. Take your left arm up and over to the right side of the room. Squeeze the hips in towards the midline and lengthen through the left side body. And then bring your left hand back down to the ground and straighten out your right leg for half splits. This time's a little different than what we did before because the hands are framing the front foot, but it should feel very similar. Now flex and point your right foot a few times. And then flex the foot. Pause there. Maybe you walk your hands down and fold a little bit. Maybe the hands go over to the right side or on top of the block. For 3 more breaths. Then come back to center, bend your right knee, lift your back knee up, and step your left foot to meet your right foot, front of the mat. Fold forward. Lift up halfway, and step your right foot all the way back to low lunge. Put your back knee down on the ground, and put your hands onto your front thigh. Start to just kind of bounce a little bit forward. At the same time, can you relax the shoulders? I'm keeping a little bit of engagement in the abdominal area. So we're not just letting everything splay or hang forward. We have a little bit of integrity of alignment. Then reach your arms up to the sky. Then feel both sides of the body get really long, both sides of the torso. Inhale. Exhale, bring your hands down and bring your left hand over to the left, maybe on the block, and reach your right arm up and over to the left. It's a deep stretch. So be gentle, listen to your body. Can you move your left shoulder away from the ear a little bit? And press down into the toenails on the right foot. And release your right hand down to the ground. And straighten out your left leg. You'll have to slide your heel forward, flex your foot, find length. And you can crawl your hands forward and fold. Oh, I forgot to flex and point the foot. Let's come upright a little bit. Flex and point your left foot. Ooh, it feels so good in the ankle. Give that ankle some love. Okay, and then flex the foot. You can bring your hands over to the left if you want, potentially on the block. 3 breaths here. Make sure you're kind of anchoring the left hip back. Bring your hands back to frame your foot and bend your knee. And lift your back knee and step to the front of the mat. And lift up halfway, flat back. And fold over your legs. You can grab the backs of your ankles if you want and take a deeper fold if that feels good. Right, and then we'll lift up halfway. Now we'll just step the right foot all the way back to the back of the mat and walk the hands over to the right side. So you're facing the right side of your mat. Your spine is long. Your toes are all aligned and pointed towards the right side. Legs are wide. Back is flat. So if you need to grab that block, please do. Then simply bend into your right knee. And then switch sides, bend into your left knee. Right knee. We're just moving dynamically first. Left knee. Right knee. Stay here. Try to find more length. Maybe your hands move over to the right a little bit. Press into the outer edge of the left foot. Breath is long, in and out of the nostrils. And we'll switch sides. Bend your left knee, press into the outer edge of your right foot. Come to center, long spine. Inhale. Exhale, fold if you can. Inhale, long spine again. Exhale, fold. One more time. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold, and you can maybe grab onto your ankles if that feels good to you, maybe your toes, or just keep your arms where they are. And feel an engagement of your glute muscles as they pull up to the sky. Relax your head. Relax your upper body. And then bring the hands under the shoulders again and lift up halfway. Turn to face the front of the mat and just step your feet together again. Then just bend your knees and set your knees down on the ground and scoot towards the middle of your mat. And take your knees wide, a little wider than your hips. Put your hands on your calves. Push the calves out to the sides. And we're going to sit down between the legs. Now, this doesn't work for everyone. If you feel pain in your knees, it's totally not worth it to hurt yourself in yoga. So you can sit on a block, or you can just bring your knees together and you can sit like that, or feel free to do anything else that works for you. If this does feel okay, I want you to just start to push your palms into your shin or into your backs of your shins, the ankles, and then down onto the feet. You can also, if sitting like this isn't working for you, feel free to sit down cross-legged and massage the bottoms of your feet. So that's what we're doing here. We're giving some self-myofascial release. We're pressing into the bottoms of the feet, rocking a little side to side. These are called elephant walks. You can even then take the thumbs and give yourself a more pointed massage. A little self-love never hurts. And then if you want to, you can start to come down onto your forearms, but first you want to tuck your tailbone. So press your hips up, tuck your tailbone under, and bring your forearms down to the ground. And maybe you come all the way down to the ground, maybe. You can even take your arms overhead and continue to tuck the tailbone and knit the ribs knit the ribs like down towards the ground. There's certainly times in my life where this does not feel good on my knee and times when it feels okay. So listen to your body. I hurt my knee snowboarding not too long ago, and this pose was out of the question, but it's amazing the body heals itself. We always have to remind ourselves that when something hurts, that it's not going to be forever. Let's bring the hands back down if you're where I was. Come up onto your forearms and then come onto your hands and then come back into tabletop. And take a moment to just breathe. Tuck your toes under, a little counter stretch, maybe lift your knees up. And now we'll come down into a seat and we'll take the legs straight out in front of us. And we'll shake out the legs. And just rest back on your hands and shake them out and notice how your legs feel. Hopefully they feel good. And we'll then sit tall, flex the feet, bend the knees a little bit, reach your arms forward, grab onto the outer edges of your feet. Inhale, and exhale, fold over your legs. And then maybe you straighten the legs out a little bit more, maybe not. Slowly rise back up. We'll lay down onto our backs, and you can bring your block with you if you have it. If you don't have a block, no worries. We're going to lift the hips up for bridge and slide the block underneath on the middle or lowest height. And if you don't have a block, keep your hips on the ground. Now, everybody take your feet as wide as your mat or wider than your hips. And start to windshield wiper your legs side to side. And then bring the feet back towards hip distance. And lift the right knee up and hug your right knee in. Interlace your hands around your right knee and extend your left leg long. And you can do this without being on the block too. It'll still feel great. Hug the knee in towards you, and you should feel stretched through your left hip flexors, so like the front of the left hip. Maybe even move your right knee out towards your armpit a little bit. Smooth out the face. Soften the heart. And then bring your right foot back down. Bend both knees, both feet flat on the ground. And then bring your left knee in. Interlace your hands. Extend your right leg long. Pull the knee in. Maybe it goes out towards the armpit a little bit to the side. Let that right heel rest on the ground if you can. And feel how the back of the heart and the shoulder blades and the back of the head all connect to the support of the earth beneath you. Notice what parts of your body are touching the ground. And then slowly come back on feet onto the ground, knees bent. And if you have that block, lift your hips up, move the block out of the way. And we'll bring the feet together and knees wide and let gravity do the work here to just anchor the knees down towards the earth. And you can put your right hand on your heart, your left hand on your belly if you'd like. Let the eyes sink into the eye sockets. And feel the radiant warmth of your eyes. And the soft texture of your skin on your cheeks. Notice the sensation of both ears and the outline of the ears and the shape of the inner ears. And release your arms down. Put your fingertips underneath your thighs to gently help guide and draw your knees up. And hug your knees into your chest. Give them a nice squeeze and rock side to side. And drop both knees over to the right. Put your right hand on top of your left knee and open your left arm to the left. And then think about anchoring your left hip forward and down. Push the left hip forward towards the front of the mat. Bring the knees back to center slowly and drop them all the way to the left, really high up. Try to get the knees up in line with your belly button. Left hand on top of the right knee, right arm opens to the right. Surrender. Bring the knees back to center. Give them one last squeeze. And release your legs all the way down for Shavasana. Arms by your sides. Let the legs just kind of rest in whatever position they end up in. The arms soften, the palms drop to the ground. Back of the head is heavy. And let the lips gently part. Let the tongue rest in your mouth. Sense the roof of the mouth and the teeth. And sense the nose and the air moving in through both nostrils and all the way up through the nose into the midbrain and back down and out. Let the forehead spread wide and feel the sensation of your scalp, all the little hair follicles. Let your whole body rest deeply. When you're ready, begin to gently and intentionally reawaken the body first through the fingertips and the toe tips. And start to invite in more movement. Then eventually bend your knees and make your way up to a seat, however you'd like to do that. And once you get there, take a deep breath in. Out of the mouth, exhale. Bring your palms together at your heart. And let's bow in gratitude for this practice. Thank you.